Well.
It's Minot Talk.
It's Minot Talk. Happens every Tuesday.
2 o'clock, 2 p.m. Not 1, not 3. It's 2.
It's 2.
Also, shout out to our man Jonathan returning to the booth today to the producer seat. Not leaving myself in charge where we had 20 minutes of audio outage last week. My apologies on that. And also, it was just a hot mess. Our screens were flipped. Things just go to a mess when you're gone, Jonathan.
Well, you know what? We won't make you go before a House committee or Senate committee and have them yell at you until you resign.
I was going to say I would have resigned too. I wouldn't have waited till today. I would have walked out.
That would have happened a lot earlier.
But yeah, breaking news: Secret Service chairwoman steps down, resigns after her massive House committee hearing yesterday.
Yeah, it's crazy. And she's like, "I'm not going to do it,"
and then she does it.
That
should have happened.
That's how you know they're a politician.
You betcha.
All right, so interesting stuff that we get to talk about today.
Yeah, big week in Minot. Fairs in town.
The state fair.
It's gonna be fun. It is fun if you've never been. Who doesn't love the fair? I mean, a lot of people actually don't love the fair.
Why not?
It's people. A lot of people from Minot don't love the fair for whatever reason. It gets busy in town. We'll talk about that later. I love the fair, so I can't speak. But arguments against it, it gets busy. It's overpriced. Yeah, exactly.
They're all lame arguments. They're all lame and don't deserve to be heard.
Minot is the best place for the state fair.
Honestly, I haven't been to the state fair this year. Schedule just didn't work this year, and it gets worse. I'm probably not going to be able to make it to the fair this year.
Not at all. I'm going tonight. Tonight will be my first night.
But big news was I had my wife bring me home some cheese curds. And I appreciate her for doing that.
I bet they were great.
All right. I like state fair cheese curds first off.
Sure.
But
they're a great time.
If you like cheese curds that are no longer hot, grease
filled with grease,
yeah, and the cheese is no longer melty, they were great.
When you crunch down, you don't get the cheese melting into your mouth. It's an explosion of grease.
Yeah, they were fantastic. If you like that, if you like a little bit of warm lemonade, greatest lemonade ever.
But we got a lot we're going to talk about today. We're going to go over some stuff going on in Minot this week. Lo and behold, there's not a ton going on in Minot since the fair's in town. We'll talk about the fair. We got a fun little list we put together. Some of the top 10 most interesting things at the state fair. Talk about some big news that's happened in Minot. There was a murder and a big arrest in that just happened last week.
Stuff like that's becoming less and less big news
in Minot.
And that's sad.
It is.
It's sad that we've had so many of those over the past couple of years.
That it's just starting to become a more normal thing in Minot, and it's unfortunate. But I think it's reflected around the town where people. I don't know if I'd say Minot's less safe, but people at least feel it's less safe.
They feel less safe. That's what they said.
Exactly. And at what point is perception reality? And here we are.
Yeah, I don't know that's a hard question to answer. I know it's a rhetorical question, but that's a hard question to answer.
But it is at the same point. No, I did without a doubt.
All right, let's jump into it. We got some upcoming events going on. Farmers market happening.
Yeah, Saturday morning. Excuse me, not Saturday night. Farmers market back in town. I think it's been a few weeks now. It's been going, but who doesn't love the farmers market?
I've never been to the Indian horse relay, but I've heard it's crazy.
It is. I've never been myself, so I guess to be fair, I can't say, but I've heard. I know a bunch of people that have been in it. I know a guy that has danced in it. It's a fantastic event every year, and it's just been getting more and more popular.
Sawyer Brown is happening at the Indy State Fair along with Lil Wayne.
Yeah, that's tomorrow night. That's
we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Machine Gun Kelly's going to be there. Thomas Rhett, Lainey Wilson.
Yep.
Was that a good lineup? I know nothing about artists.
I'm not a big country fan, but I know Thomas Rhett and Lainey Wilson are very big. So I think a lot of people were happy about that. I know that what the Turnpike Troubadours on Sunday. I know they're an up and coming act. A lot of people like. So I think it was a good lineup. They got.
Is Lil Wayne cool?
Lil Wayne is super cool.
Really?
I mean, Lil Wayne was huge like 15 years ago. He was like one of the top artists, pop artists in the world. And so the fact that Minot got him this close to his peak is pretty big. And it's such a different genre from what Minot normally gets. I think I love to see Minot expanding and getting different artists like that.
Typically we have to do it like, who was it that we had, like Kiss or something?
Yeah.
A few years ago when they were like,
there was
they came out of retirement homes and stop by?
The year 2016, we had Kiss and Fall Out Boy, and then a bunch of country acts. Last year we had Jelly Roll. That was awesome.
Was it?
Right. I mean, right as he was blowing up. I mean,
Yeah.
he wasn't huge before, like then coming into that spring and last summer, he just blew up, won a bunch of country awards, and we had him. And that was a massive fair or night at the fair last year when he was there.
I'm sure. Very neat. So all that's coming up.
A bunch of concerts this week.
Yeah, a bunch of concerts. Fair food, like fantastic fair food. Get some fair food. That's what somebody's in.
That's the best part.
Going around Minot will Uber you fair food, so that's always an option. We got some news that are happening. You already drew attention to it, but the murder that happened that turned into an investigation, which is kind of an interesting one.
Yeah, it's gotten really weird. A few months ago, there was a missing persons alert released on this guy, and a couple months went by. They were looking all over for him, checking like out into east of town. I think it was near Rugby. They thought he could be seen or something, and they were looking all over, couldn't find him until a couple weeks ago. They announced an arrest has been made in the case, and his body was found in the basement.
His body was found first, and then shortly after
the arrest was made.
Okay. Yeah. And that would be Delon. I don't know how to say his name. Delon Davis. That is facing charges with the responsibility for the shooting death of Mark McMillan.
Yep.
Police say after looking through social media cell phone records, they believe Davis and McMillan had an ongoing feud over stolen drugs. And an interesting thing, and who knows what exactly went on there and how the stolen drugs came about. But when we interviewed a lot of the politicians leading into the elections, there was talk about how drug problems are increasing in North Dakota because of border problems at the border, southern border, and even the northern border a little bit.
Without a doubt.
So it's an interesting thing as we see stuff like that hitting Minot. This is stuff provided by KX News.
And it was, I know, a crazy little caveat. I think it was reported he was shot a couple times in the chest, and his body was found wrapped up in a deflated air mattress in the guy's basement. So
it's crazy.
Yikes.
What a
just wait till Midwest Murder Mystery gets a hold of this one in a couple years.
That's right.
It is a wild story, though. It's something that you don't see often in Minot when things like that. I mean, it's on. I don't know if it will be, especially with as long as it lasted, but it could be on the same level as that Anita Knudsen case.
Yeah. Well, right. Except we found the killer way earlier.
That's It obviously timelines are
Anita Knudsen, isn't that going to trial soon?
Yeah, we talked. We were probably muted last week when we talked about it, but Leif and I were talking about that last week.
Gotcha.
But yeah, they sent out in Grand Forks where the trial is going to be held. Jury summonses, so they're going to start
because I believe it was going to be held here, and then they figured that
they kept pushing it back and pushing it back, and they finally just came to the conclusion that there wouldn't be a fair trial here.
Yeah.
It's just been too big of a thing for too long.
I can believe that. So this smoke that we've been enduring,
it's been gross, hasn't it?
Yeah. You like wonder if it's humidity? No.
Humidity doesn't help, but it's just been so smoky out there lately.
Yeah, it has been.
It's coming down from wildfires. We've encountered this every summer for the last few years, really, and it just today especially it feels really smoggy out there.
All right, so let's first jump to the Medora musical.
Sorry. No,
sorry. There's something else that came up on the news feed, so I was looking at that. But the Medora musical, North Dakota Attorney General warns of ticket scamming hitting North Dakota. Something to be aware of. They're wanting guests to be aware of fraudulent tickets, as they have seen an increase in fraudulent ticket resellers, leaving unsuspecting guests disappointed and out of hundreds of dollars. So something to be paid attention to.
Go ahead.
Make sure you buy it from a actual reseller or directly from Medora.
I was going to say, I think the best place to buy it is through the Medora musical website itself.
Yeah, makes sense.
Your best bet. Avoid anything like that. Scam tickets are always unfortunate, but unfortunately, it's a thing that is very vulnerable to people at Medora Musical.
Absolutely.
Which is a great thing. If you've never been, you always got to check it out. Medora Musical goes all summer long. If you've never been, I think you should go.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing for sure. All right, so interesting though. and this is what I skipped over, but want to go back to. Sawyer Brown and the North Dakota State Fair are
Yes.
inviting military personnel and first responders to this show, the rescheduled show that's happening Wednesday
Tomorrow, Wednesday. Yes.
at 2 p.m. They were gonna do Tuesday at 2 p.m., but we're like, we got Minot Talk. That's not gonna work. They moved it to Wednesday. That probably didn't happen, but we'll go with
I
it.
mean, it's close enough.
And so at that, they've done these free tickets, and we were talking a little bit before the show. Maybe it's because they're struggling to get people to show up.
Yeah, I especially don't think it helps that they're pushing it ahead like 5 hours into the.
Yeah.
How many people can't
So-
get off work in time?
And by ahead, so it's supposed to be Wednesday at 7.
I think, give or take.
Okay.
But yeah,
When concert, it was supposed to be Wednesday at the time that concerts happen in
7
the
or 8,
evening, and
something
it
like
got
that.
moved to
2 p.m.
2 p.m. And it's a problem because there's some people, you mentioned work,
Mm-hmm.
you have that, but understand, like, why not? I would be, it would probably be surprisingly low of the amount of people from Minot that attend.
This is probably a good point.
So, I mean, the concerts, there's probably more that attend the concerts, but the fair in general would probably be lower than what you would expect.
Without a doubt.
But people are driving in from wherever for this concert.
Yeah.
And now it's 5 hours earlier.
Yeah. Or if they're even flying in today,
Right.
too.
And
by
we
chance.
saw that
Yeah.
someone was complaining because they were going to be flying in for the concert and their plane doesn't get in time now for them to be able to
flies
see
in
the
at
concert.
5 p.m. or something.
Yeah.
Or even at 2 something.
Even at
They
2.
don't have
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. So
Mhm.
it's interesting that the decision was made, and of course everything is based off the entertainer schedules and stuff like that, is what the state fair is saying. We haven't been able to confirm anything other than what official statements and what they've made on their social media pages say concerning it. But very interesting for sure.
It is, especially with that whole outages, the internet outages that was happening last week that led to this too.
So CrowdStrike,
Yeah.
and basically what happened was it took out a lot of systems, network systems that were ran on Microsoft.
Mhm.
This affected, and it's a major problem still. The
Delta Airlines is still affected by it at a lot of their major hubs.
the Atlanta airport looks like a mess right now, or last I seen it, which was earlier today. It's just crazy at how, and this is a rabbit hole we jump into, but it's crazy how easy the networks and systems and infrastructures that we rely on are so fragile.
Yeah, without a doubt.
One company was able to push an update. That the official word is one company is able to push an update and mess up worldwide problems, create
Yeah.
global problems.
Almost a week later too.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
it's
The
been
problem's
this
so
long.
big that it'll
It is.
expand out into days.
And without a doubt, it is. It you make a good point. It does just show the fragility of our infrastructure.
Right.
I mean, what else could happen at that easy of a
Yeah.
flip of a switch?
I mean, we saw it a couple years ago when Texas was having problems with their power grid.
Yep, when they
During
had
the
those
cold
really
strike.
bad winter storms.
And so then North Dakota's literally pushing power down to Texas.
Mhm.
And it was getting to the point where it's pushing some of North Dakota's grids to the limit.
Yep.
And it's just incredible how fragile these infrastructure things really are.
Yeah, and how much we take it for granted too.
Dude, you better go and have a bunker somewhere. I'm
Without a
kidding.
doubt. I mean, okay, but there's still people like I know there's professional baseball players that still haven't been able to get to their professional baseball teams,
The problem.
and it's been the whole weekend's worth of baseball games that they've missed because they're stuck, not able to travel.
There was
I
a
mean,
article I read about a professional golfer that was supposed to fly out from Colorado to Minnesota, I believe, for
yeah,
a tournament.
The 3M Open's happening this week.
Okay, yeah. So he's going to the 3M Open, supposed to fly in, got told his flight's going to be messed up. There was problems with baggage, whatever. Went to the rental car place, got a rental car. They said, yeah, we'll give you one, but it has to be round trip. We're not doing one ways.
Yep.
He's like, oh, yeah, it's a round trip. Yeah. He told the article, he's like, yeah, it's not a round trip.
Having worked in the rental car industry before, I can only imagine the
Mess.
the landscape that they had to navigate at some major airports throughout the weekend.
It's terrible.
Because you have such a limited inventory in general, and then being able to send cars off
Yeah.
at a whim is not practical a lot of the time.
Right.
So you expect that car back, but at the same, I mean, he's going to get hit with a solid one-way fee, but at the same
Like
time,
how much?
um,
I mean, I know you can't say matter of fact, but in your
I mean, up
experience,
to
but
$1,500.
oh, he don't care.
No, it's nothing to him. That's pennies on the dollar for
He
him.
doesn't care.
But
1,500 bucks. He's like his
it's,
comment
well,
was,
frankly, it's probably well worth it.
yeah. His comment was, well, Avis is supposed to be the official car company for the PGA Tour. So we'll see what that means.
see if they hook him up at all, right?
Yeah. So that's pretty epic.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely some major problems that were caused by that outage,
Which
through
led
CrowdStrike.
to Lil Wayne being unable to make it to Minot on Saturday.
And that was a problem. His
Yep.
private jet, we assume a private jet, was not able to.
Can't imagine someone
Fly.
like him would fly commercial.
Yeah, and I don't know what the dynamics of all that mean, but it is interesting because you would anticipate, like Southwest Airlines, supposedly their flights did not stop because their systems were not affected. So that makes it sound like it's not, maybe some airports were affected differently, but it's not an airport problem. It was literally airlines problems.
Yep. It was a system thing.
Yeah,
Yep.
with the airlines.
Yep.
And so it's interesting that it would affect his flight if he truly flew private. If he's flying commercial, then whatever. But I mean, the chances of him flying commercial seem low.
I can't imagine. I mean, never say never, but I can't imagine as much.
Yeah.
It's going to be a
But then
very,
think about that. How much does the state fair pay these people?
I mean, I remember a few years ago, was it Toby Keith or Tim McGraw? We got to come to the fair, and it was, this was probably 7, 8, 9 years ago now. But when they got him to come to the fair, it was a state fair record price of $1 million.
Wow.
So I can't
I'll pay
imagine
for
a
a
lot
private
of these
jet.
people are going to be, less.
1 million.
That's probably a fair ballpark for the bigger acts.
You said you weren't going to do that today.
I'm speculating again.
No, you broke out the word fair
Oh, I did.
in reference to the fair.
No pun intended. I've tried. It's one of my
The go-to.
sayings. It is.
All right, we're talking fair, so let's break it down. The top 10 things at the North Dakota State Fair
So far.
but you're allowed to reminisce.
Yeah, a little bit.
If it's a year-over-year thing, we haven't seen it for sure, but this always happens. We can point it out.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So one of the top things was
In
Lil
no
Wayne.
particular order.
No
here.
particular order.
Yeah.
One of them is Lil Wayne being rescheduled to Wednesday over Sawyer Brown, which is just the most fantastic problem ever.
It's incredible that Minot's having to go through it.
Yeah, it is. And like, how do you do this? So does that mean that we thought Lil Wayne was better than Sawyer Brown? Of course, the official word from the state fair is that
this is the only day they
only way that this could have worked was to
Between
push Sawyer Brown earlier.
both people's schedules and everything. This is the only way it could be pulled off. So we can't dispute that.
We can't dispute that. We're not interested in disputing that, but we're interested in speculating.
Yes, we're good at that.
And it's like, I don't know about that.
Sounds question.
Sounds like someone's a fan of Lil Wayne.
And again, going with the whole.
There was another option.
What was the
Lil Wayne didn't have to come.
They could have canceled the show.
They could have canceled Lil Wayne.
I can guarantee you that would have made people mad. Remember Kid Rock a year or two?
Okay,
2 years
it would have
ago?
made people mad. But there's nobody mad over Sawyer Brown.
Of course, there's people mad.
Okay, so
I guess that's the thing. How
care about Sawyer Brown more than Lil Wayne?
Where would more people have been mad at? I guess what one had more ticket sales?
I think this is a case where both sides are mad. I wanted Lil Wayne on Saturday. Now I have it on Wednesday. I was here for the weekend. Now I can't be there on Wednesday.
How many people from out of Minot came in for just that on Saturday?
I was in the Bully Pulpit golfing early this year with some guys that were going to drive up for the Lil Wayne concert on that Saturday. They would enjoy the state fair and go Lil Wayne. They're from Dickinson. They probably ain't going back.
What are the odds they're going to come on a Wednesday evening and stay the night then? And
have to stay the night. Miss
Thursday?
2 days of work because it's a 3-hour drive and there's the time change and the whole mess of it. Yeah. It feels like everybody loses.
It's such a weird dynamic. I bet it's going to be one of the busiest Wednesdays that the fair's had.
Probably. Maybe that's what it was about. One thing though that is also, like, we're picking on the state fair leadership, but also if you flip the script a little bit, I mean, it's a terrible situation for them to be put in.
Yeah, for anyone to have to deal with that, especially this being the first year for the state fair chairman. I mean, it's not an ideal situation for anyone to have to go through.
Or director,
director, and it's especially with one of your highest profile acts
Right.
being the
It's
one
a
that has
Saturday
the
concert, man.
the first Saturday, parade day Saturday,
Yeah.
opening weekend. I mean, that's typically one of the busiest days of the fair.
Right.
And you lose out on your main act. That's difficult to deal with.
Also, something that I thought, when did CrowdStrike happen? It happened Friday.
Yeah,
Never
Friday.
mind. I was gonna say I thought it was interesting that they were gonna fly in the day of, but they probably were gonna fly in Friday.
I think they released it around
Still,
like,
that makes no sense.
was it around like noon Saturday? They released the statement or something.
There's more to this.
Of course
there
is.
Because if the systems were up Friday,
Or did they start going down on Friday?
they went down Friday morning and they were
Okay.
up by the afternoon.
Did Lil Wayne just not want to come? Was he out having fun and just wasn't feeling like coming to Minot?
He was pulling a President Biden.
He was holing up in, well, maybe not Delaware, but
Yeah. Supposedly, while we've been live, even President Biden has come out of hiding in his talk. So we'll talk about that in a bit.
Hey.
But another top thing about the fair, the food. It's a classic.
Who?
All right.
Clearly,
you threw this on this.
I love the food.
You threw this on the list.
I did.
I agree with it, but you threw it on. So we got to hear favorite meal.
Okay, my go-to. First thing I'm gonna get, if it's still there, there's a crab fritter place. That is my go-to. That is my first.
Tell us about this food.
It's crab fritters. I don't know. They got a real good sauce. It's probably like $12 for like.
So it's like
of
just
them.
a bread ball with crab in it.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much all it is.
Interesting.
One of the who doesn't.
This is underperforming so far.
Yeah, it's me. Come on.
Hey, at least we can hear you.
The funnel cake is always huge too.
Okay, funnel cake's
Who
classic.
doesn't and the mini donuts are one thing I always
Mini donuts
love.
are fantastic. Yep. You want to know one of my favorite fair foods?
What's that?
The wild rice burger.
Oh, that is good. I've had that in the past.
And they're not there anymore.
They're not.
That's why I don't go to the fair anymore.
Cheese
curds aren't enough to give me.
Didn't they have like bison burgers?
They might. Or wild rice. I see. It sounds so nasty. I don't like wild rice. Mm-hmm. And when I saw, like, that's terrible. And then one day I was like, I just want a burger. Fine, we'll try it. And then it's like every bite, those wild rice, it just pulls and absorbs all the seasoning and just bursts of flavor whenever you hit a wild rice. I'm like, this is fantastic.
Way better than anticipated.
Yes.
No, they're not there. That's disappointing.
Not there. I haven't seen them for the past couple of years.
I heard there's a place that sells dill pickle pizza. That's apparently fantastic. I've never tried it, but
why does fair food have to be so nasty?
Don't forget the frozen cheesecake and the deep fried Oreos.
Deep fried everything.
Yes, everything and anything.
Is it something? Oh yeah, we can deep fry that. Literally, we should do a segment right after we get done doing our bicycle segment where we get our heads knocked off.
Of course.
With all the wayfinding signs. We should do one where can you deep fry that?
Exactly. It'll be gold.
We'll deep fry gold. Well, that's what we'll do.
We'll deep fry a little everything.
Yeah.
What I've seen deep fried Kool-Aid before.
Yeah, at the fair.
Yeah.
Deep fried Kool-Aid. Like, how do you even pull that off?
Yeah, it's a trip. Who doesn't like?
Have you thought about it?
Deep frying Kool-Aid?
Yes.
I've never.
The process. What's the process? Step 1 in deep frying Kool-Aid.
Do they just put Kool-Aid in the dough? Like in the bread mixture, the breading.
Yeah, but they don't talk about the bread mixture. Like if you deep fry a Twinkie, you have a Twinkie and you put it in a deep fry and it comes out and it's a deep fried Twinkie. An Oreo, they actually cheat with the Oreos and they put stinking bread around it.
Okay,
so that's not fair.
That's
not fair.
That's probably how they make it better, though.
Yeah, that's not fair. And that's probably what they do with the Kool-Aid as well.
Oh gosh.
But anyways,
who doesn't love fair food? It's overpriced, but we love it.
Yeah, I love the ice cream cones too.
Oh gosh, yeah.
They got some flavored ice cream cones.
And
fantastic.
Miniature cinnamon rolls at the same place as the mini donut place.
Yeah, that sounds
right
good.
Next to it or something.
One year there was a place that had really good chicken on the stick. Really enjoyed that.
Every year you always see the people walking around with those massive turkey legs.
Yeah, that is not a me thing. You could probably pull it off, not me.
It always looks better than it tastes.
I was going to interrupt you. I interrupted you on one of the things you were saying is fantastic. Mm-hmm. You don't remember what it was?
It was going to be the mini cinnamon rolls. Okay, that's where I was going. I got it in. I had to make sure I got the cinnamon rolls in.
My wife loves the foot-long corn dogs.
Yeah, another classic fair item. The blooming onions again. Classic one. Can't go wrong.
Good stuff. Yep. Very, very good. Fair food. Always a trip.
Yeah.
Already mentioned on the list though, the MHA horse racing, but neither of us has ever been there. We just heard
No,
great
but
things.
I've
I heard
heard
like they switch horses mid race and stuff.
Yeah,
It's
they
crazy.
jump off, jump on, do another one, go.
Wow.
I want to go. I'm gonna be at the fair tonight. I don't know. I'll be with
You
nephews, so I
won't
don't know
make
if I'll
it
make
there.
it. But
You know you won't.
yeah, I'm not with my nephews. They'll
Yeah,
be doing
it's
rides.
not happening.
If I get food, I'll be happy.
All right. So this is one. This is one of the most fantastic things I learned about. I'm randomly on Facebook. That was my problem. But the Ward County Sheriff's Department, I believe it was the Ward County Sheriff's Department, put out a post about, hey, you're at the fair, you're leaving, and you have to find your car. One of the worst things ever.
Forgetting
Where did you park your car? So you do what every normal person does in the 21st century. You start beeping your car.
Mm-hmm.
It's not beeping.
And you swear you parked right by red 10.
Yes, you know exactly where it was supposed to be in this area. I should be able to beep and hear my car.
Nowhere to be found.
Then you remember, honey, did we make a car payment the last 3 months or however long? No, you know what? I forgot. The last 3 months, I forgot. And sure enough, there's a repo guy driving the lots looking for cars that need repossessed. Supposedly, they make a ton of money this week.
I bet they do. My dad used to be a repo man. I wonder if he ever had this idea.
Yes, you need to ask him.
This would have been. I mean, this is the move. How many how hundreds or thousands of cars are parked in the state fair parking
that
lot?
Need repoed?
Exactly, and of those, you can look up the license plates so easy. You probably have them written down from your the purchase order you get from the bank. I mean, it's
Isn't
a money
that crazy.
Scheme. Pay your car note.
So
you don't have to worry.
Does that mean that it'd be that easy to steal a car? Like, do they have to show what paperwork do they? This is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
If a repo guy shows up and he's taking a car, does anybody question a repo guy?
I know you can call the cops, but theoretically, if I'm not mistaken,
what are you gonna do though? I'm talking about you. You're driving through the state fair. Oh, look it, that guy's car is getting repoed. I wonder if he's actually a repo
I wouldn't
guy.
Do nothing.
You just be like, oh, it's a repo guy.
I wouldn't. I was getting towed. I don't know. I wouldn't.
Yeah, you just be like, oh,
if it's mine, it'd be a different story.
Yeah, bad day for that guy. So does that mean if you have the ability to take a car the way repo does it, you can take any car you want?
I think, as with most things, confidence is everything. If you project you know what you're doing and you're in the right, I mean,
you just need a vest that
have the high vis vest.
Yes,
on.
if you have a high vis vest, this is the time where you want clothes like that. We're not advocating
Don't
that.
steal cars, folks.
Don't do that. But it's interesting to think about how some things in life, if you walk around with a high vis vest and a ladder, you can get in anywhere.
Yeah.
Everyone will trust you.
Because no one's going to question it, or no one's going to question it to the point where they do anything about it at the very least.
I wonder why he's here.
Oh,
whatever. Let him work. Give him space. Yeah.
So, Dad, if you're watching, you should have used the state fair to get cars back in the day. That was your moneymaker you missed out on.
And that brings us to another point: parking and traffic. Two of the worst things about the fair.
And really, this year too, it's even worse with the 3rd Street Bridge being closed. One of Minot.
You mean Minot?
For Minot.
You mean just
traffic in general in Minot? Yeah,
it's just trash.
We were going at the state fair. In that, I live near it. I live kind of by Come and Go, and it's terrible. This time. Like just coming up here today at 1:15, it took me an extra 5 minutes to get here, just having to wait behind people trying to turn.
We're concerned about you.
I appreciate it.
We almost sent someone after you.
You almost had to call someone to be back up just in case I didn't show up.
Exactly. Traffic, interesting deal. Parking.
Have you seen how much it costs to park in some of those paid places across from the fair?
What, $20?
Yeah.
Nice.
And that's the thing. People are going to do it.
They will. I always park, like, if I get closer than Lowe's Floral, I feel like I got a good parking spot.
I always park in free parking.
I do too.
I will drive. I will drive in circles finding a spot. I will walk a mile.
But I don't go to the parking lot on the east side.
Don't you?
I'm on the west side by Lowe's Floral.
Sure. Yep,
That's what I'm saying. So if I'm inside of Lowe's Floral,
you're good.
Good parking spot.
You're happy.
Outside, like, oh man, it's a long walk. You know, it's never a long walk to the fair. It's always just a long walk.
It's the walk home, leaving. Yeah. That's one that's
terribly long. You're dead. You're tired. You're hot. You're just sick of it.
Sweaty. It's late. You're probably too full.
Yeah.
You spent too much money.
So something else popular. Daryl's Racing Pigs.
Oh, the racing pigs. Who doesn't love the racing
How does this come about? At what point does a guy decide he's going to do racing pigs?
That's a great question. And then travel around the country, going to probably different state fairs and different county
Yeah.
fairs and showcasing them. I know one of his favorite things is to reward them with Kool-Aid afterwards.
Yeah, probably fried Kool-Aid.
I mean, it's it's amazing. If you've never seen Daryl's Racing Pigs at the fair, it's a fun time. It only lasts a few minutes,
Seconds it feels, but yeah, minutes.
Yeah. And
He builds it up.
Yeah, it's every few hours. He's great. I've been going to it since I was a little kid. I'm sure I'll go tonight.
It's interesting.
It is. It's fun to watch. It's weird, kind of, but it's fun.
It is a very weird form of entertainment,
without a doubt.
You got, and somehow they run fully in the circle.
Yeah,
but it's because of the Kool-Aid.
There has to. Yeah, I'm sure there's some semblance of training he has for him.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing.
And it's right next to all the livestock barns too. At least normally.
Have you ever seen the diving dogs?
I have in the past. Yep.
Dude, to me, that's one of the most incredible things.
It is crazy.
You see how they just stretch out.
Yeah, especially when they have them, they throw something out there and they can catch it in the air and then they die. That takes training. That takes effort.
Yeah. Interesting. Anyways, racing pigs, something to check out. A classic one. It's done this year, but the parade.
The parade every year.
Let's talk about the parade though.
Day 2 of the fair, that first Saturday.
It's really day 1.
It is. That's the real opening. That's the real Kickstarter of the parade.
Do you remember? And this is a rabbit hole, but I've been finding a lot of those recently.
Good.
Do you remember the Rip Fest that used to be in Minot?
Yeah. It was behind the auditorium, right? Or was it at the state fairgrounds?
It was at the state fairgrounds one year at least, and it was at the auditorium as well.
Oh, so
and that's right. Done, right? I haven't seen that in a while.
I feel like, yeah,
I loved it.
Has it been since COVID even? I don't even know.
Maybe that's what ended it.
It was always right. Yeah, I went a few times.
Yeah, what I loved about it was, well, the ribs. Yeah, but you know what? I loved it because I think they had cheese curds and funnel cakes and everything.
Yeah,
and it was the month before. It was June. It was held in June.
Mm-hmm.
After Father's Day weekend, always rained. And it was like the lead up to the fair. It got you in the mood for fair food.
In that summer mood, it gave you a taste of the fair food. You know what's coming. Yeah. That was a good time.
It was a good time.
Should we get it back?
Yeah, you should get on that. But anyways, I don't know how that
festivals and stuff, but
yeah,
the ribs
that was last Saturday. I don't know how that had anything to do with the parade, but anyways, the parade. So this is one of the longest
180 some entrances.
How long does it last? Like 4 hours?
A few hours, yeah.
If you're sitting watching that parade, it's just ridiculous.
I know. I saw friends with their kids that they had a whole like those little athletic backpacks just stuffed with candy.
But the problem is, if you have a float and you don't do candy, you're a loser.
You got to do something, right? You got to. If it's not candy, you got to do something to give out.
Well, it's got to be some food.
I mean, like candy's the best.
Yeah.
Or water. Those were always the ones I liked. The ones that handed out cold water bottles.
So yeah, that's cool for like 1 or 2.
But yeah,
if everyone did water, you'd be pretty upset.
Having a dozen water bottles that are all hot.
You would hate that.
Yeah. No, that's you got to have one or something. But yeah, the
occasional T-shirt, the little football that.
Or mini frisbees.
Yeah, you got those things. And then Applebee's always gives out apples.
Yeah.
But the candy is where it's at. Oh, gosh. Yeah. Is it time for the parade to go away?
No, never.
Did you know we do a July 4th parade?
In Mandan.
No, in Minot.
Minot does? I didn't even know that. I knew there was a big one in the like Mandan Bismarck.
Yeah,
area.
See, I didn't know this either.
Where?
In downtown area.
Okay.
My wife told me it was July 4th. She's like, yeah, some people are at the parade.
Minot talking. We don't even know about the 4th of July parade.
Yeah. She's like, some people are at the parade today. I'm like, there's no parade today.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. She's like, no, there really is. And sure enough.
Well, we got to go next year.
She showed me evidence. You can go. I just don't think I'm into that.
No, I work Saturdays. Those are my good days.
So, and it's like there's also, you got homecoming parade, and I think there's another one.
Yeah.
Minot is full of
Minot
parades.
State always does their homecoming one. That's a pretty big one.
All right. Dogs left in car. Who does this?
That happened.
They went to the parade.
But it's almost as bad as the kid leaving your kid in the car.
Yeah, almost as bad. Not quite as bad.
It's not a human, but I mean, how do you leave it's so hot out too.
Yeah, it's not a good idea.
This happened at the fair this year, right?
Yeah, left in from my understanding, that left the car. Police showed up. Who knows what happened after the police showed up? But yeah, another epic part. I'm sure there's a lot more of that than you realize, though.
I'd
don't
be
know
shocked.
of stuff being left in cars that shouldn't be.
Hopefully,
even
no
drugs.
kids being left in the cars in Minot Fair.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Hopefully, we're better than that, Minot.
Be better. And
Be the change
something
you
that
wanna
you
see.
reminded is, if you go to the fair at the right time of day after
Or
a nice
night.
hot day, you have a good chance of finding a fight.
Somewhere near the Flickertail Gardens,
Yeah,
where the alcohol's flowing.
yeah, we don't condone that here, but yes,
That's your best bet. It's not a guarantee, but
probably
the
at least
odds-
one good one a year.
the odds of it not happening are slim to none.
Next year before the parade, we got to interview somebody from the police department and talk about like how they go about dealing with all that stuff, because I'm sure their approach to law enforcement,
Yeah, and they're the
is
ones
very
that,
unique during it.
and they have to block off intersections and everything.
Yeah, it's got to be a nightmare. They got to hate the fair.
We'll have to, we'll have to do a whole episode on that. We could get maybe like the parade director on, get someone from the Minot PD on. That would be interesting
It
next
would
year.
be, yeah. And then rides.
Year,
So rides in general, we're talking about the rides that happen at the fair. Those things, they look like they're going to fall apart. Every year they look a little worse.
Once in a
Have
while
you
they'll
gone
get-
on them?
I went last year, actually. I almost got sick.
You're a brave man.
I
You're a brave
loved him as a
man.
kid. I went all the time as a kid. Then a couple years ago, my nephews
I hate rides.
goaded me into it, and it wasn't bad. And then last year happened, and I went on that spinny spaceship one.
Oh, any spinning ride is a crime. They
Oh.
should put those.
It
There should be a law.
I
Matter
was
of fact,
shot the rest of the day.
we should get legislation. Talk with a lawmaker, get some legislation that outlaws those rides
no
in North
spinning.
Dakota.
The one ride that they don't have anymore that when I was a kid was my favorite. It was called the Zipper. I don't know if you remember it.
Nope.
It was.
I didn't go on rides.
Oh, fair. I
hate
did
them.
it again. Reasonable.
Fair.
So it was the Zipper. It would go, you were in this little cart that had two people and they were all on around it, and it would go around it. But the Zipper would also move 360 degrees. So it's spinning while it's spinning, and you could spin the car. It was nuts. It was the best. But
Was that the best?
they didn't make parts for it anymore. So they had to retire that ride.
I
from what
went.
heard.
I went. I had somebody that I knew go to an amusement park, and they love amusement parks. And then we get back to the motel, and they're puking their guts out, and they love amusement parks. And I'm like, there's no way that is worth it.
No, when the puke,
No way.
when the throw up happens, that's when fun goes out.
Yeah, but why would you ever do it again? That's the question.
You got to test to know where it's going to
No,
come. And
you
I know,
just gotta
spinning
stop.
rides are not it.
Spinning
There's
rides are
also I'm a little heftier than I was when I was younger, so
Yeah,
there's some
fair.
that I can't quite fit in.
Also, though, rides in general, there are some people that make a killing this time of year. That's Lyft drivers around Minot.
Yep, this is a prime time for them right now.
Yeah.
And I saw coming here. I stopped at Come and Go, the gas station. There was a minivan parked there with just a piece of cardboard paper on the side of their van, written in marker, rides available for tips, and then the phone number.
That's who you're gonna call.
Yep.
I'll call somebody else, but that's who you're gonna call.
I love that. That's out there.
That's crazy, dude.
Like,
You gotta
the
be careful.
gall.
Stay safe, people. Stay
Be
safe.
safe. Yes, it is the state fair, which has metal detectors at the entrances this year.
Wow.
Leif,
That's sad.
Leif and I had to talk about that last week.
Well, that probably was interesting talk.
Well, yeah, it saddlebacked off of, or piggybacked off of our conversation that was muted about the assassination attempt on President Trump.
That was
and
sad.
It was, yeah.
Our country.
It's wild.
prayer.
We'll get into that in a minute here. Wild stuff,
Sure.
national news.
So, I miss city council. I listened to a lot of your guys' podcast with
Yeah.
Leif. It was
thanks
great.
again, Leif, if you're watching. Thanks for doing that with
Absolutely.
us. It was great.
Thanks, Leif. But top 3 things that went down at city council last week.
Ooh, interesting. Number one, first off, has to be the confirmation of the purchase of the Kemper building. Councilman Fuller tried to table it to allow for a 30-day forum from the public to get their input. That was voted down on, and it was then passed with a 4-3 approving the purchase. Largest argument on that was, hey, there are other buyers that are interested in this property. We can't guarantee that it'll be here in 30 days. So they went ahead with the purchase 4-3, like I think we discussed was probably going to happen.
It's messed up.
But that's one thing Leif and I were talking about. It feels like there's going to be a lot of 4-3 votes.
Yeah, I was listening to your conversation. So basically, you're anticipating a lot of 7-0-4-3.
Yeah.
Either it's so obvious we all agree with it, or it'll be split.
Us against them. I hope that's not how it's going to go. I think
so. You don't. So some of the people that have been considered, I mean, obviously this is bringing partisan stuff into city council, but some of the people that have been considered conservative in the previous council are now more moderate, and they won't agree with the others that are.
I hope not. I hope
you hope not. What?
I hope that it won't be purely us against them.
Yeah.
We're not agreeing with you because you're you. I hope that the longer they work together, the more they get to know everyone. There'll be common grounds. We'll get 5-2s. We'll get different things like that. I hope there'll be a lot more common ground found between everyone where they can really work on some things.
Yeah.
And not just because 7-0s are good. You want things to pass unanimously, but at the same time, you want discourse. You want
definitely. We need solid discussion.
Exactly.
That's one of the things that it felt like Minot was missing.
And at the same time, too,
quality discussion.
You don't, when that discussion does happen, you don't want every single one to end in a 4-3 vote.
No, 4-3 votes on our city council.
Maybe it'll be 4-3 going the other way too, though, which would be great to see. Either way, I hope it doesn't strictly lay into that.
4-3. You mean somebody joining?
Yeah, someone from the current. So, okay, it's Fuller, Blessum, Samuelson, and then Pittner, Mayor Ross, Olson, and Janser. Those two parties.
So
hopefully,
that's basically, you feel like basically it's separated based off those two.
I hope
based
it's
off what
not, but that's just some general vibes that have been gotten from the first two meetings.
Yep.
I really think everyone's going to start getting to know each other, and they'll start working on things a little differently. But
yeah,
I think that someone from that the latter four could end up joining the former three, or someone from those three could join the four. We'll have a 5-2. I think a lot of that will end up coming into play the longer
we'll get it. That'd be good. Yeah, and it's still very early.
Yeah, they've had a month. Next Tuesday will be their third meeting. It'll be the first special session.
You make it the way that you present it right now makes it feel like it's the Supreme Court.
I know, it's weird. It's just Minot City Council.
it's like there's two sides to the Supreme Court, and the ones that were appointed by a liberal president and the ones that were appointed by a conservative president. And those two sides, they just don't agree.
And I don't think we live in Minot, North Dakota. The odds of anyone on our city council saying they're liberal is pretty small. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying that we don't have anyone, and it has happened. And I'm not saying it won't happen in the future, but a general speaking thing, it's the odds of it are pretty low.
Yeah.
Most people on there are going to consider themselves a conservative in some sense. But
that's
also
fair.
That on the former point, that
we need to go and have a podcast on what his conservative anymore in North Dakota. What's a North Dakota conservative?
North Dakota conservative.
How do you create one of those?
Yeah. How is it even? We'll get into a whole different rabbit hole with that. So second thing that happened at the city council meeting that was big, the 2025 budget proposal came in, and that was, that took a couple hours. Harold Stewart, city manager, went through it, most of it with a couple department heads. Great discussion. One of the big things they are going to be lowering, the proposal is to lower the mill. So
on that note, we're going to take a 30-second break. We'll be right back, folks.
Right back.
We're back.
Had to avoid technical difficulties
So-
there, so we're here. But
Yeah, it
anyways,
happens.
lowering of the mill is coming. At least proposal is happening.
All right, so we're gonna lower the mill, or we're gonna raise property values.
At least that wasn't the way it sounded in the proposal. It sounded,
But they have to do that
I in theory, but
according to the state.
that, yeah, who knows what'll end up happening with that. Property values haven't gone down lately anyways, so, but
Right.
theoretically from the lowering of the mill there should be a little easement in property taxes,
That'd be good.
hopefully.
Well, it needs that. So that's
It does.
number 2 thing. Number
Yeah.
3.
Third one, probably gonna, there was a couple other ones, but
I'm gonna fill this one in for you.
go ahead.
The time for public comment.
That was definitely one that was noted by a few people, Leif especially, and Dr. Stephen Padragula, former alderman, got up at the public appearance section last Tuesday and definitely spoke for longer than his allotted time. He made good points in a lot of what he was saying. He made some good moral statements of how the city council should act, and I think I could definitely see Dr. Padragula being his own form of a city council watchdog in the future. I
Yeah,
could see
that's
him being
interesting.
there. But he definitely spoke for longer than the 5 minutes allotted.
Right.
And
Yeah. Everybody should do that.
yeah, why not? If
Everybody
everyone
should.
does, if everyone
Do it.
everybody should speak.
Next
Everyone
city
should go.
council,
Yes.
if you're there in the public comments, give your opinions on what happened. Do it.
Just do it.
Get 30 people there and all push the time limit.
Why not? See what happens. What'll they? Oh, that would kill time, but at the same time, what would they do if everyone wants to talk for 10, 15 minutes? You got to let them go. At least a little ways.
They're
And
going to
if
shut them off at 5 minutes.
And if you don't, if you do shut them off at 5 minutes, how's that look? I guess if you do it with everyone,
point.
it's okay. But at the same point,
Well, yeah, once you do everyone, but then you'll remember that next time somebody wants to go over.
Exactly.
You know, I don't mind that Dr. Padragula wants to stay involved in that.
Mhm.
And it's really not his fault for going over the 5 minutes. I understand that. Yeah, well, he should have stopped. Yeah, he should have been told that, hey, man, your 5 minutes are up.
Yeah.
That's what should have happened.
which
Which
happened, but didn't happen until
so it was
well
past
over
5
10
minutes,
minutes.
probably.
Yeah, well.
So I have no problem with that, but with I'm not upset at him. I'm not upset at anybody really. But the thing is like you can't be a council, and I get the watchdog, but you can't be a council member by proxy, and you can't be a council member like you're gonna have to adjust your approach.
Mhm.
Your voice has to change
Mhm.
now that you're no longer in council, and I
Yep.
think that needs to be realized.
That's a good point. You have to come from a different perspective now.
Right. City council is going to run how city council is going to run.
Mhm.
And I know that some might not be excited about the new form because of the people that we have. And we'll see how that plays out before we create a judgment on that. But at the end of the day, that's the cards that are dealt.
Mhm.
So
Without a doubt.
adjustments are going to have to be made for sure.
Yeah. Big meeting, long meeting, 5 hours. It was
5 hours.
It was a
So that went till
marathon.
10:30.
I left at around 10:40 is when I started driving home.
And you know what? They'll love me for this, but the new city council member said that they're going to get a little shorter.
I see.
No, why did it go long though? Because it was the budget.
Yeah, the budget.
So
was
it's
big.
I said that kiddingly because they will still hate me for that comment. But I said it kiddingly because I thought that the budget was included, and the budget always makes it go long.
Yeah, it did, and it was a solid 2.5 hours on the budget.
Yeah,
It
that's
was
hard.
It was extremely in depth too.
Hey, that's what I want.
Yeah, it was very in depth. It was super knowledgeable, but it was
As a citizen, remember that like this stuff that they're going over, it affects the year and beyond, but it affects that year specifically drastically. So yeah, we want city council to be done 60 minutes, and we want an action-packed 60 minutes. We want to see the fights, we want to hear all the discourse, we want all this stuff in 60 minutes and go on with our day. But the fact of the matter is, this is the business of the city, and we also want to be bigger than Fargo. I mean, not everybody wants that, but what I'm saying is we want to be independent and big and be our own selves. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes energy, it takes us being involved in these things. So we can't have everything the way that we want it. So there's nothing wrong with it going long when you're talking about big time subjects such as a budget.
Yep. And leapfrogging off of that, next Tuesday evening is a special session of city council where it's a Q&A for the city council members to the budget staff. So
That'll be interesting. So this is not for the public.
it's a public, it's open to the public, but the Q&A, as I understood it, is for the city council.
Gotcha. For the city council to the staff.
To the staff, yes.
Okay.
As far as I understood, maybe it's a little, maybe there's
Yeah.
a area for public input, but I'm not positive.
I'm sure we'll have full information on that come Monday.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that next Tuesday on Minot Talk.
You betcha.
And then
2
we
p.m.
might even have some a special thing going that night too. So
Never know.
We'll
see how feisty we get that night.
Yeah.
Then yeah, that'll
interesting city council
without a doubt.
Well, what do you anticipate being brought up this next one, especially with that budget talk the next day?
That'll be interesting. Yeah, I'm
yeah. Do you have any previews for city council Monday?
Most of for the budget on Tuesday.
Just of
or
what's
for the following city council.
Just just for the city council meeting, what's going to be brought up? Is there any follow-ups that we should anticipate?
Everything got settled, I think, at the last meeting, if I remember right.
There's nothing on the table.
I don't think anything got tabled. There might, just a complete off-topic thing. One thing that the city of Minot released on their YouTube channel this week was the video footage from the special executive sessions on real estate that was released to Josh Wolski earlier this year. I didn't end up watching any of them, but I saw they ended up posting them all on their YouTube channel.
Did somebody else ask for some random information request?
They could have, but I'm not positive. I don't know off the top of my head.
Somebody did. I can't remember.
And of course, there was the whole. Anyways, we did the 3 on city council. I was going to bring up the whole talking about the downtown incident with the lights, but we talked about that. That was discussed last week.
Go check it out. Last week's Minot Talk breaks down last Monday's city council meeting.
Just go to about 30 minutes in.
Yeah,
there's some issues.
Major things though that have been happening nationally, and
yeah,
we have meetings at the Dakota every now and then to discuss what our focus is, and our focus is not national. It's national stuff that affects North Dakota. Some of this does affect North Dakota. Some of this is just big, interesting things that are going down. And first off, as I've already addressed, it's kind of sad. Like the world that we live in, and I don't want to be depressive about anything, but country needs a lot of prayer.
Yeah. It's an interesting time we're going through right now.
So
a lot of unprecedented things happen, and I don't use that term lightly. I'm not a professional in anything other than massage therapy, but I have taken a vast amount of time to look into history, especially presidential and U.S. history. And right now it is some unprecedented times.
So you have the assassination attempt on Trump.
Yep.
And obviously that was talked about last week.
Yep.
Our viewers will never hear what it's talked about.
You'll see us talk about it.
Yeah. If you're good at lip reading, it's a great episode for you. There was that happened. Yep. Some are saying that at the last debate, Trump, for all intents and purposes, did such a good job at the debate that his candidate essentially dropped out following it. Now that Biden declared over the weekend, and in the most interesting way to date by any president ever, obviously it's an unprecedented thing, period, but he drops out of the race of his re-election campaign by a PDF that's posted on Twitter or X that not even official letterhead, just has his name at the top. You or I could have created this.
From his X account. Yep.
From his X account. And then if you want to go down through, and I'm not into conspiracy theories. The world we live in, if you go and you talked about it 4 years ago, you would say it was a it's a different world. It's a conspiracy world with the things that are happening. Now. And even COVID would sound like a conspiracy.
Yeah.
So, but the signatures don't match up with other signatures that he's done. Like they don't. You go and you look at side by sides of the signatures, they just flat out don't match. It's the most interesting thing ever.
Well, maybe this is just showing his advanced age and his signature's changing with time.
We'll go with that. Change in like a week.
You betcha. Hey, he's sick too. He's got COVID, right?
Yeah, and about that, there's reports that he had the step below a stroke. It's some type of an attack that he had end of this, like July 17th or something.
Sure.
There was literally, from what I have read, and of course I understand that things are interesting.
Speculation, nothing official has been led on this, but this has been reported by multiple people.
Supposedly there are sources within the, I think it was Las Vegas police department that they were going to make way for him to be able to get to a hospital. And then once they realized that that it wasn't a stroke. They said that they could fly him, so they flew him to John Hopkins, and then he's been holed up in Delaware. Obviously, it's officially being reported as COVID, but still very interesting things that went down there. It was the fastest flight the Air Force One had taken in like
Years.
over that just the distance
that
that they were
distance.
going.
So
they
were
went
full
very
throttle.
fast
Yeah.
on that trip. So there was
Pedal
some
to the
type of
metal.
emergency.
And I mean, if you see the video, he was struggling walking up getting into his car and everything. So it was
so just interesting things. So now it looks like it's official.
Yeah, he has announced he's stepping out of the election. He's going to stay as president. He is going to serve out
as of today. He's going to finish his term. And then you have Kamala Harris, who it looks like is going to be the Democratic nominee.
I think she's pretty much locked it up at this point. She has enough pledged delegates from. This isn't nothing's official until their convention, but she has the pledged words from enough state delegations to have the majority at this point. The North Dakota Democratic Party pledged their delegates to her last night. She went over a little under 2,000 is the required number for the Democrats to have their majority. She got that last night. So again, there's nothing's official till the convention, but at this point, all of the people that were listed as major potential opponents, people that would run against her, potential governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, Roy Cooper of North Carolina, people like that have all now voiced their support for her, for Kamala Harris, the vice president, as the nominee. The party is pretty much circled around her. Leadership in the Senate and House have both came out in favor of her. So at this stage, it looks pretty much like she will be the nominee. And who will her vice president be at this point?
According to the Wall Street Journal, Harrison campaign sent vetting materials to the North Carolina governor, Roy Cooper, Pennsylvania governor, Josh Shapiro, one of your favorites, Michigan governor, Gretchen Whitmer, Illinois governor, J.B. Pritzker, and Minnesota governor, Tim Walz, and Senator Mark Kelly.
Nothing to Kentucky governor, Andy Beshear?
Nothing to Kentucky governor, Andy Beshear. According to this source.
Interesting. Okay. Tim Walz, Minnesota. That would be an interesting pick as well. He's, he has 2 terms as a governor now, so he's not lacking in political experience by any stretch. But before that, he was a teacher.
Yeah, and there's like, so first off, what representative from which state is most important out of that list? So basically, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Minnesota, or Arizona.
At that point, I think it's so a few of those are swing states in there.
Right.
The vast majority are.
Pennsylvania's a swing state.
North Carolina could be considered a swing state.
That's an edge of a swing state. Yep.
It currently has Roy Cooper's the Democratic governor of it.
Yep. Michigan is a swing state right now. Illinois is obviously not. Minnesota is not really a swing state right now.
It hasn't voted Republican since
it didn't
72.
When everybody, literally almost everybody voted for Reagan. Every other state voted for California. When California voted for Reagan, Minnesota didn't.
For Mondale.
Yeah.
But again, it's there are people that are saying that it could be,
but Arizona's there too,
and Arizona is definitely much more of a purple state than Minnesota.
So what's the most purple out of, like, what's the most swing state where going and choosing one person from that state could influence who they vote for? Out of North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, or Arizona? So
Michigan would be interesting. You'd have 2 women on the ticket. That's obviously never been done.
And Gretchen Whitmer said, I am for North Dakota. For North Dakota. Yeah, that's what she said. She said, I am for Michigan.
Yeah.
I work for Michigan. I'm not interested in it, basically.
Which is interesting as well, because
it's political talk. For you could send me some documents. I might be interested.
She could have opted to run for Senate this year as well, and she chose not to. So that's
and she's somebody that seems like has presidential hopes one day.
She's been talked about a lot in that conversation.
So vice president being 8 years behind Kamala Harris may not be the move.
Mm-hmm.
If you
have legitimate, and she's already in her mid 50s, I want to say 53, 45. So.
Yeah. So, but she could come at the end of that and be a strong candidate, and people don't say, well, we didn't like your 8 years with Kamala, or worst off, Harris doesn't get in, is not voted into office, and then she's on a ticket that lost. That doesn't look good either.
Not at all. That's a step down in that sense too. And Michigan would be a great state for them to pull, but I that would be a really questionable one to have. I just from a general optics standpoint, having two women on the ticket would be
Yeah.
a tough sell.
So
Not saying I'm opposed.
I'm
to
gonna
it.
say she's not gonna be it.
Yeah. Arizona next would be an interesting play because
Honestly, I think this is the guy.
Mark Kelly, very popular. He's relatively moderate. He's been elected twice now. Once was a special election, but he's been elected twice in 4 years in Arizona to the Arizona Senate. He's won 2 elections. He. The only question I have with that: do you want two people from that far out west and where they're geographically located so similar to each other? Having a California and an Arizona person on the ballot, could that potentially isolate some East Coast
Is
places?
is Kamala Harris far enough from that now that doesn't matter, her being in Washington D.C. for
Potentially.
4 years?
That could potentially be a thing. She's removed enough at this point that she is obviously as a national presence at this point. So
Also, Mark Kelly's been to the moon.
he has.
Not everyone can say that.
Mark Kelly is a man. The husband of former representative from Arizona, Gabby Giffords, who had an assassination attempt on her life as well.
There you
go. So he's a very popular figure in Arizona. I think that would be a very good pick for her. I think that would be a good balance. But again, my big thing is, do you want a California, Arizona person?
Roy Cooper, I don't know much about. I don't know much about that one.
Roy Cooper, both they go back about 20 years. They were both attorney generals at the same time. He was attorney general of North Carolina, her of California. So they know each other from that. They've worked alongside each other for a while in that sense. So they've at least known each other for a bit. He is the Democratic governor of North Carolina, which has been, for the most part, a fairly Republican state. He's very popular in North Carolina as well, but he's term limited in 2 years. So his governorship will end. He's in his 60s. So at this point, I can't say it's narrowing down when we have people in their 70s that were running at one point, but he's still relatively, at least he's in a good age to run at this stage. I just, how viable is North Carolina as a purple play?
Yeah.
I think that's it is possible by all stretch, but I think that's a lot. In the same way that Minnesota is almost certainly blue, I think North Carolina is probably almost certainly red. Never say never by any stretch. It's been trending bluer, but I think it's definitely trending blue or trending red, excuse me.
And then you have, and Zach just mentioned it in the comments, Shapiro.
Yep. Josh Shapiro, very, very popular governor in Pennsylvania. He is Jewish, which is
okay. Yeah. So this is an interesting thing. And some are saying like this could be the reason why he wouldn't be it.
Which is fair. I think it took us how long to elect a Catholic president? Would America be ready to elect a Jewish vice president? Who knows? But He is an incredibly popular governor from a purple state. He is young. He's in his 40s. So him being the vice president to her would be a generational shift. It would be you have a Gen X and a millennial on the ticket now, rather than a borderline Gen X and before the boomers. So
does Kamala want somebody that's younger, or does she want someone that's not like 75 but in their 60s?
That's a good question too, is how they're going to want to play that, the age game. You can look in 92 when Clinton picked Al Gore. There were two baby boomers who were in their 40s at that point, mid 40s. Both were up and coming politicians. Clinton, governor of Arkansas. Gore had run for president prior, and he was a congressman and senator in Tennessee. So you could look at it in that sense, where you have multiple people from a younger generation coming to build up that youth vote and try to help bridge that gap. But at the flip side, Kamala Harris is relative. I mean, she has 6+ years of experience now, but relatively inexperience on a national level. She only had 2 years of a senatorial experience, and now 4 years as VP, which is obviously
she was attorney general for quite a few years as well in California.
Years. Yeah, it was a good decade. California. Yeah, but on a national level, at least, that would be an interesting play.
Yeah.
And one big name that was floated around too was Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. But that would have been a similar thing as what Trump and
I don't see them doing it together.
I don't think so either. I think that would be too.
Now, on the Republican side, you can't be from the same state, right?
That's in general. That's a U.S. constitutional
Okay,
thing. So
my
I
bad.
was going to mention that with that too. If it were to be, one of them would have to change states, and I think Gavin Newsom, as the sitting governor, would probably have an issue doing that. So it would have to be the vice president, and I don't know.
I think she'd have a problem too.
She'd go to
I don't think
Virginia,
it
right?
makes
Or no?
sense though. Period.
No, you don't want two Californians on the ticket. That's
I don't think that would go over well with the people.
not a lot of those independent voters, I don't think.
Going to be interesting. Yeah, Zach makes the point that Trump has an edge in Pennsylvania after the tragedy that happened there.
Yeah.
And it is truth. Pennsylvania is going to be a very interesting swing state. Obviously, last go around, there was a lot of things that went down, and it was a very interesting race that went down in Pennsylvania. And so it'll be interesting, as that will be receiving a ton of attention.
Without
Pennsylvania will be, Michigan will be.
There's going to be a ton of money spent in those states, Wisconsin as well.
Yep.
Those,
and Arizona.
Yep.
It feels like Ohio and Florida won't be considered swing states as much. Some people are saying that this year Texas will be a swing state. We're close to Texas being a swing state.
We're close, but I don't think we're quite there yet. I think it's going to be another cycle or two till it's really in that swing category. But I think it's definitely coming.
Yeah,
without a doubt. Texas is getting more and more blue. Another interesting, obviously they're not vetting him, but another interesting name I saw thrown out there for potential VP was former Congressman Beto O'Rourke from Texas, who ran for president in 2020. And also Pete Buttigieg, who's the current Secretary of Transportation.
I could be wrong, but it just feels like Beto, I feel like he's still thought of well in the Democratic Party, but I feel like he doesn't have the name recognition that he had at one point.
Yeah,
because he hasn't been as much at the forefront. Mm-hmm. And then,
is he running for Senate against Ted Cruz this fall?
I haven't seen anything about that, but
I know he ran for governor against Greg Abbott 2 years ago and lost. Obviously,
he was in Minot recently.
He was this summer or spring, spring. For his book signing or something.
Yeah, so I'm kind of curious if he's looking at taking a different approach at stuff. But yeah, will be interesting to see how all that plays out. We'll be tracking it loosely. Obviously
the big things that relate to us in Minot we'll mention, but
yeah, so you can look forward to that, some local commentary on that, maybe get some other people from the area to chime in. So it's been another great episode.
It has. It's been good having you back. We missed you last week terribly.
Yeah, it's good to be back. So
I think we did good. Went great. Thanks for the comments for everyone online. Thanks for watching. Make sure you give us a like, leave a comment in the future. Well, if it's relevant, we'll talk about it next week. Subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And
if you have something you want to talk about, hit us up, send us a message. We got time. Yep. Well, if it works, we'll have you on. We can chat about it. So
we got to have guests. We got to fill this up. It's every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday. Yep. Next week we'll be going live 2 p.m. talking about Minot City Council, some of the stuff that goes down on Monday.
Oh,
it's going to be eventful.
No City Council on Monday.
That's right.
Fifth week of July.
So we'll be anticipating the special meeting that evening. Tuesday. Actually, yep. You're right.
It's like I pay attention to this stuff.
Yeah, it's almost like you do. I made a note of that and I forgot.
That happens.
So
you saw the stream from last week. I got nothing to say.
No, you're good. So all right. Yeah. Make sure that you join us next Tuesday, 2 p.m. Thank you for watching.